Hold still. Victoria Sterling tilted her crystal goblet. I want to see what trash looks like in real wine. The red liquid crashed down Marcus Williams's face. Cold, shocking, dripping from his chin onto the marble floor. Senator Richard Sterling laughed first. Then the ballroom erupted. 300 of Manhattan's elite champagne raised, watching a black man drown in humiliation. Marcus didn't move, didn't wipe his face. Wine pooled at his feet like blood. What's wrong? Victoria sneered. Nothing to say. Marcus looked at her, smiled, and spoke 5 words that would bury an $800 million empire. Thank you for the evidence. No one understood. Not yet. They had just handed a man with nothing the weapon to destroy everything they'd spent generations building. Comment your city below. I want to see how far this story travels. The wine was still dripping when Marcus reached for his pocket. Victoria's smile flickered. What are you doing? He pulled out a folded document. Partnership agreement. Sterling Tech's $800 million lifeline, the deal she'd chased for 6 months. The deal that required his signature to survive. This, Marcus said, unfolding it slowly, was supposed to be signed tonight. The ballroom went quiet. Board members at the front tables leaned forward. Senator Sterling stopped laughing. I brought it with me, Marcus continued, his voice carrying through the silence. I was going to announce our partnership during my acceptance speech. Bright Mind and Sterling Tech, changing education together. He held up the document so the cameras could see. But you just showed me who you really are, Mrs. Sterling. And you did it in front of witnesses. Victoria's face hardened. Don't be dramatic. It was a joke. A joke. Marcus nodded slowly. Wine dripped from his jaw onto the paper. You called 400,000 children defective. You poured wine on me because I refused to sell my company. And you think that's funny? Movement in the crowd. A woman in pearls whispered urgently to her husband. A board member pulled out his phone. Let me tell you what's funny, Marcus said. This deal isn't just $800 million. It's the key to every federal education contract Sterling Tech is bidding on. Without my signature, you lose access to $50 billion in government funding. 5 years of public sector strategy gone. He tore the document in half. The sound cracked through the ballroom like a gunshot. You can't do that. Victoria lunged forward, but her husband grabbed her arm. I just did. Marcus dropped the pieces at her feet. And Mrs. Sterling, every phone in this room has been recording since you picked up that glass. By tomorrow morning, the whole world will see exactly what kind of person runs Sterling Tech. He turned and walked off the stage. The crowd parted before him, nobody willing to stand in his path. Victoria's scream echoed behind him. You're nothing, you hear me? Nothing. Marcus didn't look back. The taxi driver glanced in the rearview mirror. Rough night. Marcus touched his wine-stained collar. You could say that. Somebody spill on you. Something like that. The driver nodded, asking no more questions. Marcus appreciated that. He stared out the window at the city lights blurring past, his mind racing. His phone had been buzzing non-stop since he left the ballroom. He ignored it. Ignored the calls, the texts, the notification avalanche. He needed to think. Victoria Sterling had made a mistake tonight. A massive, public, irreversible mistake. But she was also one of the most powerful women in America. Her husband sat on 3 Senate committees. Their family had destroyed careers, buried scandals, and crushed competitors for 4 generations. What Marcus had done tonight, publicly humiliating her, tearing up the contract, threatening her business, that wasn't the end of anything. It was the beginning of a war. His phone buzzed again. This time he looked. Unknown number. Text message. Mr. Williams, my name is Dorothy Chen. I was Victoria Sterling's executive assistant for 32 years. What she did to you tonight was not an isolated incident. I have evidence, documents, recordings, everything. She has destroyed dozens of lives. Please meet with me. It's time someone stopped her. Sunrise Diner, 47th Street, 8 a.m. tomorrow. Come alone. Marcus read it twice. His thumb hovered over the delete button. Then he typed, "I'll be there." His mother was waiting when he walked through the door. Gloria Williams was 68 years old. With gray hair she refused to dye, and reading glasses perpetually perched on her nose. She'd raised Marcus alone after his father died in a construction accident. She'd worked double shifts at the hospital for 20 years to put him through college. And she'd moved in with him the day Maya died, refusing to let her son and granddaughter face grief alone. One look at his ruined suit, and her hand flew to her mouth. Marcus Jerome Williams. What happened? It's fine, Mama. That is not fine. That's wine all over your good suit, your only suit. She grabbed his arm, pulling him into the light. Did someone attack you? In a manner of speaking? In a manner of... She stopped, eyes narrowing. Tell me. Right now. So he told her. The gala. The award. Victoria Sterling's approach. The wine. The torn contract. The walk out. Gloria listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Good." Marcus blinked. "Good. You stood up for yourself. You didn't let that woman make you small." Gloria squeezed his hands. Your father would be proud. Maya would be proud. The mention of Maya's name hit him like it always did, a sharp ache in his chest that never fully healed. I don't know what happens next, Mama. These people, they don't lose. They have lawyers, politicians, media connections. They could destroy me. Baby. Gloria cupped his face in her hands, forcing him to meet her eyes. You've been destroyed before. You lost your wife. You almost lost your home. You built a company from nothing while raising a child alone. If that woman thinks she can break you with a glass of wine, she has no idea who she's dealing with. Marcus felt his eyes stinging. I made Maya a promise. I know you did. I can't let them take Bright Mind. I can't let them turn it into something only rich kids can afford. She made me promise Mama. The night before, His voice broke. Gloria pulled him into a hug, holding him like she had when he was a boy. Then you keep that promise, whatever it takes. Daddy? The small voice came from the hallway. Marcus turned to see Zoe standing there in her pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Hey, baby girl, what are you doing up? I heard talking. Zoe padded toward him, then stopped. Her nose wrinkled. Daddy, you smell like grape juice. Despite everything, Marcus laughed. Yeah, someone spilled on me. That's mean. It was baby, but it's okay. Zoe studied him with eyes too perceptive for 9 years old. Are you sad? Marcus crouched down to her level. A little. But you know what makes me not sad? What? You. He pulled her into a hug. You make everything better. Zoe squeezed back. Mommy said you're the bravest person she ever met. Marcus's heart clenched. She did. She told me before she went to heaven. She said Daddy's gonna change the world and I should help him. Zoe pulled back, her expression serious. Did you change the world tonight, Daddy? He thought about Victoria Sterling's face when he tore that contract. The shock. The rage. The sudden realization that she had miscalculated badly. I'm trying, baby. I'm trying. Sleep didn't come. Marcus lay in bed staring at the ceiling, his mind replaying the night on an endless loop. The wine hitting his face. The laughter. The look in Victoria's eyes, not just anger, but something darker. Hatred. The kind that came from being denied something she believed was rightfully hers. At 2 a.m. he gave up and went to his office, the converted closet he'd worked from for 4 years. Computer on a plastic desk. Folding chair. Photos of Maya covering every inch of wall space. He opened his laptop. The internet had exploded. Every major news site carried the story. Videos from multiple angles showed the wine attack, his response, the torn contract. Twitter was a battlefield, #justice for Marcus versus Sterling supporters. His face was everywhere, and the stock market had already reacted. Sterling Tech, down 18% in after-hours trading. Marcus stared at that number. 18%. Billions of dollars in value evaporating in hours. Because of one glass of wine. Because Victoria Sterling couldn't control her temper. Because she had underestimated a man in a second-hand suit. His email was flooded. Interview requests from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, NPR. Messages from investors he'd never heard of. Partnership offers from companies that had ignored him for years. And one email that made him pause. Subject: internal Sterling documents urgent. No sender name. Encrypted address. Marcus clicked it. Mr. Williams, the woman you're about to meet, Dorothy Chen, is telling the truth. But she doesn't have everything. Neither do I. Together, though, we have enough to destroy the Sterling family permanently. They have committed crimes spanning decades. Fraud. Bribery. Witness tampering. Document destruction. And something worse. Something that will make what Victoria did to you look like a tea party. Be careful tomorrow. You're not the first person to challenge them. You're just the first one still alive to tell about it. No signature, no contact information. Marcus read it 3 times. Still alive to tell about it. He looked at Maya's photo on the wall. Her smile. Her confidence. The way she'd believed in him, even when he couldn't believe in himself. "What did I get myself into, baby?" he whispered. The photo didn't answer. But somehow, he felt her presence. Her strength. Her voice in his memory. Don't let them intimidate you. They're just people. Scared people who need power to feel whole. Marcus closed the laptop. Tomorrow, he would meet Dorothy Chen. Tomorrow, he would start fighting back. Tonight, he needed rest, even if rest wouldn't come. He lay back on his folding chair, surrounded by Maya's photos, and waited for dawn. Sunrise Diner smelled like coffee and bacon. Marcus arrived at 7:45, taking a booth in the back corner where he could watch the door. The waitress, a tired woman in her 50s, poured him coffee without asking. "You look like you need this," she said. "That obvious?" "Honey, I've been pouring coffee for 30 years. I know exhausted when I see it." She patted his shoulder. "Cream's on the table." At exactly 8 a.m., the door opened. Dorothy Chen was smaller than he expected. 71 years old, barely 5 feet tall, with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun. She wore a simple gray dress and carried a weathered leather bag that looked like it had seen decades of use. But her eyes were sharp, alert. The eyes of someone who had spent a lifetime watching and remembering. She spotted him immediately and walked over. Her steps were careful but determined. "Mr. Williams?" "Ms. Chen, please sit." She slid into the booth across from him, placing the leather bag on the seat beside her. For a moment, they just looked at each other. "You're taller than I expected," Dorothy said. "You're older." She smiled slightly. "I know. 32 years working for that family. I watched Victoria grow up, watched her learn cruelty like other children learn to read." The waitress approached, but Dorothy waved her off. "Just water, please." When they were alone again, Dorothy folded her hands on the table. "I watched the video 17 times last night," she said. "The moment she poured that wine, I knew. I knew it was time." "Time for what?" "To give you what I've been collecting for 3 decades. She opened the leather bag and withdrew a stack of journals, leather-bound, yellowed with age. Then manila folders. Then a small digital recorder. "Everything is in here. Every racist comment. Every illegal transaction. Every person they destroyed. Dates, times, witnesses, proof." Marcus stared at this pile. "Why now? Why me?" Dorothy's eyes glistened. "Because you didn't break." "What?" "When she poured that wine, you stood there. You didn't cry, you didn't yell, you didn't run." Dorothy's voice cracked. Do you know how many people I've watched her humiliate employees, partners, anyone who challenged her? They all broke. They cried or they screamed or they begged for mercy, and Victoria always won. She reached across the table and touched his hand. But you just stood there, and then you smiled, and then you destroyed her. Tears spilled down her wrinkled cheeks. I've waited 32 years for someone like you. Marcus looked at the journals, the folders, the recorder. A lifetime of evidence gathered by a woman who had been invisible to the very people she was documenting. Why didn't you come forward before? Dorothy laughed bitterly. And say what a black housekeeper accusing one of the richest families in America of crimes, who would believe me, who would even listen? She opened the first journal, dated 1992. March 15, 1992. Victoria Sterling, age 14, instructed me to reduce Maria Gonzalez's hours without telling her. When Maria asked about her missing pay, Victoria told her father Maria was stealing. Maria was fired without severance. She had 3 children. They lost their apartment within a month. Marcus felt sick. She was 14. They raised her to believe she was above consequences, above law, above human decency. Dorothy turned more pages. It only got worse from there. She pressed play on the recorder. Victoria Sterling's voice filled the booth, cold, calculating, discussing how to force out a competitor. Make sure the files disappear. If anyone asks, blame the intern. The black one, what's his name? People will believe it. Marcus's jaw tightened. That was 4 years ago, Dorothy said. James Monroe, young man fresh out of MIT, brilliant engineer. Victoria stole his patent designs and framed him for embezzlement when he complained. He couldn't find work anywhere in the industry after that. Last I heard, he was driving for Uber. She destroyed his career over stolen patents. She's destroyed dozens of careers, dozens of lives, anyone who got in her way. Dorothy closed the journal. But Mr. Williams, what I've shown you is just the beginning. The real evidence, the documents that can put her and her husband in prison, those are in a safe deposit box. I'll give you the key, but only if you promise me something. What? Don't settle. Don't take their money. Don't make a deal and walk away. Her hand tightened on his. Finish this. For Maria, for James, for everyone they've ever hurt, and for me. Marcus met her eyes. Why does this matter so much to you? Dorothy was quiet for a long moment. I had a daughter, she finally said. Keisha, smart girl, worked her way through community college, got a job at Sterling Tech. Entry level, but she was so proud. Dorothy's voice trembled. Victoria accused her of stealing from petty cash, said she had video proof. Keisha swore she didn't do it, but nobody believed her. She was arrested. Spent 3 months in jail before the charges were dropped. The evidence mysteriously vanished. What happened to her? Dorothy looked down at the table. She couldn't find work after that. Arrest record followed her everywhere. She started drinking. Pills. One night she took too many. Her voice broke. She was 26 years old. Marcus felt the weight of those words settle into his bones. I'm sorry. I've spent 23 years collecting evidence. Every document, every recording, every email I could access. Dorothy looked up, her eyes fierce through her tears. I did it for Keisha. I did it so that someday someone would make Victoria Sterling answer for what she's done. She pushed the leather bag across the table. The key to the safe deposit box is in the inside pocket. Box 447, First National Bank, Downtown Branch. Get the documents today. The Sterlings will figure out what I've done soon. They monitor everything. When they do, they'll try to destroy the evidence. Marcus took the bag. It felt heavier than its physical weight. What about you? If they find out, I'm 71 years old. Dorothy smiled sadly. What are they going to do? Kill me? Let them try. I've already made copies. If anything happens to me, everything goes straight to the FBI, the IRS, and every newspaper in the country. She stood up, straightening her dress. You have what you need, Mr. Williams. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Marcus stood too. I'm going to keep my promise. What promise? The one I made to my wife. He held out his hand. Thank you, Ms. Chen, for trusting me, for waiting, for Keisha. Dorothy shook his hand, holding on a moment longer than necessary. Make them pay, she whispered. Make them remember. She walked out of the diner without looking back. Marcus sat back down, staring at the leather bag full of secrets. His coffee had gone cold. The bacon smell now seemed suffocating. The weight of what he was about to do pressed down on him. His phone buzzed. News alert. Sterling Tech announces emergency press conference, CEO to address false accusations. Marcus checked the time. The press conference was scheduled for noon, 4 hours away. Victoria Sterling was fighting back already. He grabbed the bag, threw money on the table, and headed for the door. The war had officially begun. Okay. First National Bank's downtown branch opened at 9 a.m. Marcus was waiting outside when the doors unlocked. The security guard gave him a long look. A black man in yesterday's clothes clutching a worn leather bag, but said nothing. Safe deposit box access, Marcus told the clerk. Box 447. The clerk checked her records. That box is registered to Dorothy Chen. Are you? I have authorization. Marcus produced the key Dorothy had given him, along with a notarized letter she'd included in the bag. The clerk examined both, then nodded. Follow me. The vault was cold and quiet. Rows of metal boxes lined the walls like soldiers. The clerk led him to 447, inserted the bank's key alongside his, and left him alone. Marcus opened the box. It was packed full. Folders, flash drives, CDs, printed emails bound with rubber bands, financial statements covered in handwritten notes, photos, surveillance photos of people Marcus didn't recognize entering buildings, meeting in parking lots, exchanging packages. And at the bottom, a single envelope labeled, "For the FBI, open in case of my death." Marcus's hands trembled as he rifled through the contents. The scope of what he was looking at slowly became clear. This wasn't just evidence of discrimination or harassment. This was evidence of crimes. Serious crimes. Tax evasion spanning 2 decades. Offshore accounts hiding hundreds of millions. Bribes paid to federal officials, including Senator Richard Sterling himself, accepting payments from foreign governments in exchange for defense contract information. And something else. Something that made Marcus's blood run cold. A folder labeled Disappearances. Inside were photos of 5 people. Names, dates, brief descriptions. Thomas Wells, investigative journalist, began investigating Sterling Tech financial irregularities 2008. Reported missing October 2008. Body never found. Sandra Oyelerin, former Sterling Tech CFO. Threatened to go to SEC with evidence of fraud, 2012. Died in car accident, November 2012. Brake line severed, ruled accidental. Michael Huang, IT director. Discovered evidence of illegal surveillance programs, 2015. Apparent suicide, no note. Marcus read through all 5 files. 5 people who had challenged the Sterlings. 5 people who were now dead. And then, at the bottom of the folder, a handwritten note from Dorothy. These are not the only ones. These are just the ones I could document. There are more. Be careful, Marcus. They will come for you too. But now you have what they've killed to hide. Use it. End them. Marcus stuffed everything back into the safe deposit box, then transferred it all to a large duffel bag he'd brought. He couldn't leave this here. The Sterlings might already be tracking Dorothy's movements. He needed to get this to someone safe. Someone who could verify it. Someone who could help him deploy it strategically. His phone buzzed again. Marisol Vega, his company's lawyer, the woman who had helped him navigate Brightmind's legal structure pro bono because she believed in the mission. Marcus, where are you? Have you seen the news? I'm at the bank. What's happening? Sterling's press conference just started early. She's not just defending herself, she's attacking. She's claiming you threatened her backstage before the gala. Says she has security footage. Marcus felt his stomach drop. That's a lie. I never spoke to her before she came on stage. I know, but Marcus... Marisol's voice tightened. They're also claiming you have a history of violence. They're saying you attacked someone at a previous job. They're painting you as dangerous. That's insane. None of that is true. It doesn't matter if it's true. It matters if people believe it. Marisol paused. They're trying to destroy you before you can fight back. We need to move fast. Marcus gripped the duffel bag tighter. I have something. Evidence that could end them permanently. I need to get it somewhere safe. Bring it to my office. Now. We'll figure out next steps. On my way. Marcus ended the call and headed for the exit. The security guard watched him pass the same long look as before, but now with something else. Recognition. Suspicion. Outside the sun was too bright. Marcus squinted against it, scanning the street. A black SUV sat across the road. Tinted windows. Engine running. It hadn't been there when he went in. Marcus turned and walked the other direction. Behind him, he heard the SUV's engine rev. He walked faster. The SUV pulled away from the curb, following. Heart pounding, Marcus ducked into a coffee shop. Through the window, he watched the SUV cruise past slowly, then circle the block. They were watching him. They already knew. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. We know about Dorothy. We know about the bank. Hand over everything you took and this ends peacefully. Refuse and what happened to the others will happen to you. You have until midnight. Marcus stared at the message. His hands were shaking now, not from fear but from rage. They thought they could threaten him. They thought they could intimidate him into silence like they'd intimidated so many others. They had no idea who they were dealing with. He typed his reply. I'll see you at your press conference. Then he called Marisol. Change of plans. I'm not hiding. I'm going public, today. Marcus, that's suicide. You need time to... I don't have time. They're already following me. They're already threatening me. If I wait, I die. He looked at the duffel bag full of evidence. Set up a press conference. 1 hour from now. Every major network. I'm going to tell the world everything. Silence on the line. Then Marisol said, You're sure about this? Marcus thought about Maya, about Zoe, about Dorothy Chen and her daughter Keisha, about Thomas Wells and Sandra Oyalaran, and Michael Huang, and everyone else the Sterlings had silenced. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Okay. Marisol's voice hardened with resolve. 1 hour. I'll make it happen. Marcus hung up and walked out of the coffee shop. The black SUV was waiting at the corner. He walked straight toward it. The window rolled down. A man in a dark suit stared out at him. Smart move would be to get in the car, Mr. Williams. Marcus stopped right beside the window. Tell your boss something for me. He leaned close enough to see his own reflection in the man's sunglasses. I'm not Thomas Wells. I'm not Sandra Oyalaran. I'm not anyone she's ever faced before, and in 1 hour the whole world is going to know exactly who Victoria Sterling really is. He straightened up. Also tell her this: my daughter picked out this tie, and I don't break promises to my daughter. He turned and walked away. The SUV didn't follow. The clock was ticking. 1 hour until the press conference that would change everything. 1 hour until Marcus Williams went to war with one of the most powerful families in America. 1 hour until the truth finally came out. His phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. You were warned. Marcus deleted the message without responding. He had a promise to keep. 47 minutes. That's how long Marcus had to prepare for the most important moment of his life. Marisol's office was chaos when he arrived, phones ringing, assistants running between desks. Television screens tuned to every major network. They're all coming. Marisol said, grabbing his arm and pulling him toward the conference room. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, ABC, CBS, NBC. Every major outlet. They smell blood in the water. Good. Not good, Marcus. Victoria Sterling's press conference just ended. You need to see what she said. Marisol grabbed a remote and rewound the footage on the largest screen. Victoria Sterling appeared standing behind a podium covered in microphones. Her husband stood beside her, jaw clenched, eyes cold. Their lawyer flanked them on the other side. Victoria's voice filled the room. Last night I was physically threatened by Marcus Williams before the gala even began. He cornered me backstage and made violent threats against my family. When I refused to be intimidated, he fabricated an incident to humiliate me publicly and destroy my company's reputation. Marcus felt his blood pressure spike. That's a complete lie. Wait, Marisol said. There's more. The footage continued. Victoria dabbed her eyes with a tissue, clearly manufactured emotion. I have security footage proving Mr. Williams initiated contact with me backstage. I have witnesses who heard his threats, and I have documentation showing that Mr. Williams has a history of violent behavior, including an assault charge from his previous employment. Assault charge, Marcus exploded. I've never been charged with anything in my life. She's lying, but that's not the point. Marisol paused the video. The point is, she said it on national television. By tonight, half of America will believe you're dangerous. That's how this works. Marcus stared at the frozen image of Victoria's tear-streaked face. So carefully constructed. So perfectly calculated. What assault charge is she talking about? Marisol pulled up documents on her tablet. We're trying to figure that out. So far, we can't find any record of you ever being arrested or charged with anything. But if she's claiming to have documentation, she's fabricating it. Just like she fabricated everything else. Maybe. But Marcus, you need to understand something. Marisol set down her tablet and looked him in the eyes. The Sterlings have spent 4 generations perfecting the art of destroying people. They have lawyers, publicists, media connections, and politicians in their pocket. They've buried scandals that would have ended anyone else. And right now, every single one of those resources is pointed directly at you. So, what are you saying I should back down? I'm saying you should know what you're walking into. Marcus thought about Dorothy Chen, about Keisha dead at 26, about Thomas Wells the journalist whose body was never found, about the black SUV that had followed him from the bank. I know exactly what I'm walking into, he said quietly. That's why I can't stop. He opened the duffel bag and began spreading documents across the conference table. Marisol's eyes widened as she saw the scope of what he'd collected. My God! Marcus, where did you get all this? Dorothy Chen, Victoria's former assistant. She spent 32 years collecting evidence. Marcus pointed to a stack of financial documents. Tax fraud going back 2 decades. Offshore accounts hiding over $400 million. He moved to another pile. Bribes paid to federal officials, including Senator Sterling. Payments from foreign governments in exchange for classified defense information. Marisol picked up one of the folders, her hands trembling. This is treason. This is actual treason. And this. Marcus handed her the folder labeled Disappearances. 5 people who challenged the Sterlings, all dead. Car accidents, suicides, missing persons, all conveniently unsolved. Marisol read through the files in silence. When she looked up, her face was pale. If you go public with this, they will kill you. They're already trying. I got a text an hour ago. Hand over everything, or what happened to the others will happen to you. Jesus Christ. I'm not handing over anything, and I'm not hiding. Marcus began organizing the documents into categories. But I need your help. I need you to verify as much of this as possible in the next... He checked his watch. 31 minutes. I need copies made and sent to trusted journalists. And I need everything uploaded to secure servers so that even if they kill me, the truth still comes out. Marisol stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, let's do this. The next half hour was controlled chaos. Marisol's team worked with furious efficiency, scanning documents, verifying dates and signatures, cross-referencing financial records with public filings. 2 of her paralegals began uploading everything to encrypted cloud servers with instructions to release if Marcus failed to check in every 12 hours. At 11:55 a.m., Marisol touched Marcus's shoulder. It's time. The press room was packed. Cameras lined the back wall. Reporters filled every seat with more standing along the sides. The buzz of conversation died as Marcus entered. He felt every eye on him, saw the skepticism on some faces, the curiosity on others, heard the whispered speculation, is he really violent? Did you see the Sterling video? This guy's finished. Marcus walked to the podium. The microphones loomed before him like hungry mouths. He didn't have prepared remarks. He didn't have a teleprompter. He had only the truth. Yesterday, he began, his voice steady. Victoria Sterling poured a glass of wine on my head in front of 300 people. Her husband laughed. Her friends laughed. They thought it was entertainment watching a black man be humiliated by the wealthy and powerful. Cameras clicked. Pens scratched. The room was silent. This morning, Mrs. Sterling claimed that I threatened her, that I have a history of violence, that I initiated contact with her backstage. Marcus paused. All of those claims are lies, and I can prove it. He held up a flash drive. This contains security footage from the Sterling Gala venue, footage provided by an employee who witnessed the truth. It shows me arriving at the event, proceeding directly to my assigned table near the back of the room, and remaining there until I was called to receive my award. At no point did I go backstage. At no point did I approach Mrs. Sterling. At no point did I speak to her before she walked onto that stage and poured wine on my face. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The assault charge Mrs. Sterling referenced does not exist. I have never been arrested. I have never been charged with any crime. Her claim is a fabrication designed to destroy my credibility before I could reveal the truth about her family. A reporter raised his hand. Mr. Williams, what truth are you referring to? I'm referring to 32 years of documented criminal activity by the Sterling family. Marcus set down the flash drive and picked up a thick folder. Tax evasion, bribery of federal officials, illegal payments from foreign governments, destruction of evidence, and the suspicious deaths of at least 5 people who attempted to expose their crimes. The room erupted. Reporters shouted questions over each other. Camera flashes exploded. Marcus waited for the noise to subside. Everything I'm about to share has been verified by independent legal experts. Copies have been provided to the FBI, the IRS, the SEC, and 12 major news organizations. Even if something happens to me today, the truth will come out. He spent the next 20 minutes walking through the evidence. The offshore accounts, the falsified tax returns, Senator Sterling's payments from foreign entities, the internal memos ordering evidence destruction, and finally, the disappearances. Thomas Wells, investigative journalist. Sandra Oyalaran, former Sterling Tech CFO. Michael Huang, IT director. Marcus read each name slowly, letting them hang in the air. All of them challenged the Sterlings. All of them are dead. And in each case, the investigations were quietly closed without resolution. The room was absolutely silent. I don't know if I'll survive this press conference, Marcus said. On my way here, I was followed by a black SUV. I received text messages threatening my life. These people have killed before, and they will kill again if it protects their empire. He looked directly into the cameras. But some things are worth dying for. Justice is worth dying for. Keeping a promise to my dying wife is worth dying for. And making sure that no other family suffers what Dorothy Chen's family suffered, what Thomas Wells' family suffered, that is worth dying for. Marcus gathered his materials. I have no more prepared statements, but I'll answer questions for the next 10 minutes. After that, I'm going home to be with my daughter, because whatever happens next, she needs to know her father didn't run." The questions came rapid fire. Marcus answered each one clearly and directly. He didn't embellish. He didn't speculate. He stuck to the documented facts. At exactly 12:42 p.m., he ended the press conference and walked out. Marisol was waiting in the hallway. Her face was grim. "You did it," she said. "It's everywhere. Every network broke into regular programming. Twitter is exploding. And—" She checked her phone. Sterling tech stock just crashed another 23%. Trading has been halted. What about Victoria? No response yet. But Marcus? Marisol hesitated. "There's something else. While you were in there, we got a call from the FBI. They want to meet with you. Today." FBI. "They've been investigating the Sterlings for months, quietly. Your evidence just gave them what they needed to move forward." Marisol touched his arm. "This might actually work, Marcus. They might actually go down." For the first time since the wine hit his face, Marcus allowed himself a moment of hope. Then his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Video attachment. He opened it. The video showed his mother's apartment building. The camera zoomed in on her window, then panned to a black SUV parked across the street. A text followed. "We can reach anyone anywhere. Last chance. Call off the FBI meeting. Retract your statements. Or consequences." Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. "What is it?" Marisol asked. He showed her the video. "Oh my God, your mother. Zoe." Marcus was already dialing. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. "Hello." His mother's voice. Calm, unaware. "Mama, listen to me carefully. I need you to take Zoe and leave the apartment right now. Don't pack anything. Just go." "Marcus, what's wrong? You're scaring me." "I'll explain later. Right now, I need you to go to Aunt Beverly's house. Don't tell anyone where you're going. Don't answer the door for anyone. Do you understand?" A pause. Then Gloria's voice hardened with the same steel that had raised Marcus alone for 20 years. "I understand. We're leaving now." "I love you, Mama." "I love you too, baby. Be careful." The line went dead. Marcus turned to Marisol. "I need security for my family. Armed security. Today. I'll make calls. And I need that FBI meeting moved up. I want federal protection before the Sterlings can make another move." 20 minutes later, Marcus was in a government building downtown, sitting across from Special Agent Patricia Hawkins. She was a sharp-featured woman in her 50s, with gray-streaked hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Mr. Williams, we've been watching the Sterlings for 18 months, she said. "Your evidence fills in gaps we couldn't bridge. The offshore accounts, the connections to foreign payments, the disappearances." She tapped a thick folder on her desk. "We can move forward now, but I need to be honest with you." "About what?" "About the danger you're in." Hawkins leaned forward. "The Sterlings have connections everywhere. Law enforcement, intelligence agencies, private security firms with very specialized skill sets. Once we execute search warrants on their properties, they'll know we're coming, and they'll know you're the reason why. They already know. They've been following me since this morning. They just sent me a video of my mother's apartment." Hawkins' expression tightened. "We can provide protection. Marshals for you and your family, but you need to understand we can't guarantee your safety. These people have resources we can't fully track." "I understand." "Do you—" Hawkins studied him. "Mr. Williams, I've seen what the Sterlings do to people who threaten them. I've seen the bodies. I've read the reports. You could disappear tonight and no one would ever find you. Your daughter would grow up without a father. Is that really a risk you're willing to take?" Marcus thought about Zoe. About her crayon drawings. About her voice saying, "Mommy said you're the bravest person she ever met." "My wife made me promise that Brightmind would stay free," he said quietly. "That every child, regardless of what their parents could afford, would have access to learning tools that actually work. Victoria Sterling tried to take that away. She tried to buy my company, and when I refused, she tried to destroy me. He met Hawkins's eyes. I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing this because if I back down now, the Sterlings will keep hurting people. They'll keep stealing. They'll keep killing. And my daughter will grow up in a world where money means you can do whatever you want to, whoever you want without consequences. He paused. That's not the world my wife wanted. That's not the world I want. So yes, I'm willing to take the risk. Hawkins was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. We execute the warrants tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., Sterling Tech headquarters, and both family residences simultaneously. She stood and extended her hand. You're a brave man, Mr. Williams. I hope you're also a lucky one. Marcus shook her hand. Me too. He left the FBI building with a security detail 2 U.S. Marshals who would stay with him around the clock until the Sterling case was resolved. Another team had already been dispatched to his aunt's house where his mother and Zoe were hiding. In the car, Marcus finally checked his phone. The notifications were overwhelming. Hundreds of thousands of social media mentions, news alerts from every major outlet, messages from journalists, investors, former colleagues, complete strangers. Most were supportive. Some were threatening. All were overwhelming. But one message stood out. From Dorothy Chen. I saw your press conference. I cried. Keisha would have been proud. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you for finishing what I couldn't. Whatever happens next, know that you did the right thing. And if I don't get to see the end of this story, know that you gave an old woman peace. Dorothy. Marcus read it 3 times. Then he typed his reply. We finish this together. Stay safe. I'll call you when it's over. The car pulled up to a nondescript hotel, a safe house the Marshals had arranged. Marcus would stay here tonight, away from his apartment, away from anywhere the Sterlings might expect him to be. His room was small and sterile. Government-issue furniture. Thick curtains blocking the windows. A television mounted on the wall. Marcus turned it on. Every channel was covering the story. Split screens showed his press conference alongside Victoria Sterling's earlier statement. Analysts debated whether his evidence was credible. Pundits argued about whether he was a hero or a fraud. And then, breaking news. We're receiving reports that the FBI has opened a formal investigation into Sterling Tech and the Sterling family. Sources indicate that search warrants may be executed as early as tomorrow morning. Senator Richard Sterling has not been available for comment. Victoria Sterling has canceled all public appearances. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed watching his life unfold on television. This was real. This was actually happening. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. Mr. Williams? Victoria Sterling's voice. Cold, controlled. Impressive performance today. Marcus felt his grip tighten on the phone. Mrs. Sterling. You've caused quite a lot of trouble for my family. Crashed our stock. Triggered federal investigations. Turned public opinion against us. She paused. I have to admit, I underestimated you. Most people do. Yes, well. A soft laugh. That won't happen again. Is there a point to this call? The point, Mr. Williams, is to offer you one final opportunity. Walk away. Hold a press conference tomorrow morning, retracting your statements. Say you were manipulated by a disgruntled former employee. Say the documents were forged. Say whatever you need to say and this all goes away. And if I refuse? If you refuse? Victoria's voice dropped lower. Then I want you to understand something. My family has been in power since before your grandparents were born. We've survived scandals, investigations, and enemies far more formidable than you. The FBI can search our properties. They won't find anything. The documents you released will be discredited, your reputation will be destroyed, and you will spend the rest of your very short life looking over your shoulder. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Victoria's breathing was audible through the phone. I offered you $50 million and you threw it in my face. I gave you a chance to walk away with your dignity and you tore up our contract on national television. Now you've brought the federal government into my business. Do you really think I'm going to let that stand? Marcus looked at the television where his own face filled the screen. Mrs. Sterling, can I tell you something? By all means. My wife died 18 months ago. Cancer. She spent her last weeks in a hospital bed in constant pain, watching her body fail. And do you know what she told me the night before she passed? Silence on the line. She told me not to be afraid. She told me that the only thing worth fearing is living a life without meaning, without purpose, without the courage to stand up for what's right. Marcus paused. I've already lost the most important person in my life, Mrs. Sterling. I've already felt the worst pain a human being can feel. So when you threaten me, when you send your SUVs to follow me, when you show me videos of my mother's apartment, you need to understand something. What's that? I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of your money or your lawyers or your connections. I'm not afraid of dying. The only thing I'm afraid of is breaking my promise to Maya. And you're not going to make me do that. He heard Victoria's breathing accelerate. Then you're a fool, she hissed, and fools don't survive in my world. Maybe not. But they leave something behind. They leave the truth, and truth has a way of outlasting empires. We'll see about that. The line went dead. Marcus set down the phone and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow morning, the FBI would raid Sterling Tech headquarters. Tomorrow morning, the whole country would watch as Victoria Sterling's empire began to crumble. Tomorrow morning, everything would change. But tonight, Marcus was alone in a hotel room, with armed guards outside his door and an army of enemies circling his family. He called Zoe. Daddy? Her voice was the sweetest sound he'd ever heard. Grandma said we're having a sleepover at Aunt Beverly's. Is it because of the grape juice lady? Marcus laughed despite everything. Yeah, baby, it's because of the grape juice lady. Grandma said she's a mean lady. Is she going to get in trouble? I hope so, baby girl. I really hope so. Good. Zoe's voice was fierce. Nobody should pour grape juice on my daddy. You're right, nobody should. Daddy, when are you coming to the sleepover? Marcus felt his throat tighten. Soon, baby, I promise. I just have some things to take care of first. Mommy things. The question hit him like a punch to the chest. Yeah, mommy things. Okay. A pause. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, Zoe. More than anything in the whole world. Now go eat some of Aunt Beverly's cookies and get some sleep. Okay? Okay. Night-night, Daddy. Night-night, baby girl. The line went dead. Marcus lay back on the hotel bed, Zoe's voice still echoing in his ears. Tomorrow everything would change. Tomorrow the war would enter its final phase. Tomorrow either the Sterlings would fall or he would. But tonight he was still standing, still fighting, still keeping his promise. He closed his eyes and tried to sleep. It didn't come. At 4:37 a.m., his phone buzzed. News alert. Breaking: Dorothy Chen, former Sterling family employee and key witness in federal investigation, found dead in her apartment. Police investigating possible homicide. Marcus sat up, heart pounding. No. No, no, no. He grabbed his phone and called Marisol. It went to voicemail. He called Agent Hawkins. Same thing. The television was still on. He turned up the volume. A reporter stood outside an apartment building he recognized Dorothy's building. Police tape everywhere. Officers moving in and out. Authorities are not releasing details about the cause of death, but sources close to the investigation indicate signs of foul play. Dorothy Chen, 71, was a former executive assistant to Victoria Sterling and had recently provided evidence to federal investigators regarding alleged criminal activity by the Sterling family. Her death comes just hours before the FBI was scheduled to execute search warrants on Sterling properties. Marcus stared at the screen. Dorothy was dead. The woman who had waited 32 years for justice. The woman who had trusted him with her life's work. The woman who had lost her daughter to Victoria Sterling's cruelty. Dead. Hand over everything, or what happened to the others will happen to you. They had made good on their threat, and Marcus knew with absolute certainty that he was next. Marcus was on his feet before he finished processing the news. Dorothy Chen. Dead. Hours before the FBI raids. Hours after she had texted him thanking him for finishing what she couldn't. He grabbed his phone and dialed again. Agent Hawkins. Still no answer. He tried Marisol. Voicemail. The marshals outside his door, he yanked it open and found them already on their phones, faces grim. "We know," the first one said. "Hawkins is on her way. Stay inside until she arrives." "They killed her. The Sterlings killed her." "We don't know that yet." "Don't give me that. We all know what happened." Marcus felt rage building in his chest. She was 71 years old. She waited 32 years for justice, and they killed her the night before it was supposed to come. The marshal's expression didn't change. "Mr. Williams, I need you to stay calm and stay inside. We can't protect you if you—" "Protect me?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "You couldn't protect Dorothy. What makes you think you can protect me?" He slammed the door before they could answer. Back in the room, the television continued its relentless coverage. More details emerging. Dorothy had been found by her neighbor, who noticed her door was open. No signs of forced entry. Police were treating it as a suspicious death pending autopsy. No signs of forced entry. Of course not. The Sterlings didn't need to break down doors. They had keys to every room in every building they wanted to enter. Marcus's phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "She didn't have to die. You didn't have to make this difficult. The FBI raids will find nothing. The documents you released will be discredited. And in 72 hours, you'll be the one under investigation. Last chance, retract your statements by 8 a.m. or join Dorothy." Marcus stared at the message. They were still trying to negotiate. Still offering him an exit. That meant they were scared. That meant the evidence was real enough to threaten them. He typed his response. "See you at 6 a.m. Then he blocked the number. At 5:15 a.m., Agent Hawkins arrived at the safe house. She looked like she hadn't slept, her normally sharp appearance frayed at the edges. "Dorothy Chen," Marcus said before she could speak. "They killed her. We don't have confirmation of that. Don't insult my intelligence. You know exactly what happened." Hawkins sighed and sat down across from him. "Preliminary findings suggest cardiac arrest. No obvious signs of trauma." Cardiac arrest in a 71-year-old woman who just became the star witness in a federal investigation. How convenient. There are substances that can induce cardiac events without leaving traces. We're running toxicology, but... Hawkins shook her head. "Even if we find something proving the Sterlings ordered it is another matter entirely. So they get away with it again." "I didn't say that." Hawkins leaned forward. "The raids proceed as planned. Dorothy's death changes nothing about the evidence she provided. If anything, it strengthens our case, demonstrates consciousness of guilt. It demonstrates they can kill anyone they want and face no consequences." "Mr. Williams." Hawkins' voice sharpened. "I understand you're angry. You have every right to be. But if you want justice for Dorothy Chen, the best thing you can do right now is let us do our job. The warrants are signed. We move in 43 minutes. Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to scream, wanted to do something with the fury that was burning through his veins. Instead, he asked, "Can I watch?" Hawkins considered for a moment. "From a safe distance, with your security detail. If things go sideways, you leave immediately." "Agreed." "Agreed." At 5:47 a.m., Marcus sat in the back of an unmarked FBI vehicle, watching Sterling Tech headquarters through the windshield. The building was dark except for a few lights on the upper floors, the executive suite. Someone was already there. Someone was watching. At exactly 6:00 a.m., black vehicles converged from every direction. FBI agents in tactical gear swarmed the building's entrances. Simultaneously, Marcus knew other teams were hitting both Sterling residences. He watched as agents disappeared inside, watched as security guards were detained, watched as the sun began to rise behind the building, painting the glass facade gold and orange. His phone buzzed. News alert. Breaking FBI raids, Sterling Tech headquarters, and Sterling family residences. Federal agents executing search warrants related to ongoing investigation. No arrests reported at this time. No arrests. Not yet. But the search was just beginning. An hour passed, then two. Agents carried boxes out of the building, documents, hard drives, laptops. The media had arrived in force, cameras capturing every moment. Hawkins called at 8:30 a.m. "We have a problem." Marcus felt his stomach drop. What kind of problem? The servers. They've been wiped. Every hard drive in the executive suite has been degaussed. Someone got here before us. How is that possible? You had surveillance on the building. We had surveillance on the entrances, but there are underground tunnels connecting Sterling Tech to 3 other buildings in the complex. Someone accessed the servers overnight and destroyed everything. Marcus closed his eyes. So the evidence is gone. The digital evidence, yes, but we still have Dorothy's documents. We still have the offshore account information. And we found something else. Hawkins paused. A safe room behind Victoria Sterling's private office. Soundproofed. Reinforced. With its own separate server system that wasn't connected to the main network. What was on it? We're still analyzing. But preliminary review suggests, Mr. Williams, it appears Victoria Sterling kept recordings of everything. Every meeting, every phone call, every conversation that happened in her office for the past decade. Marcus sat up straighter. She recorded herself committing crimes. She recorded everyone. Insurance, I assume. Leverage to use against business partners, politicians, employees. But in the process, she also recorded herself. And some of what we're hearing. Hawkins's voice tightened. Let's just say the charges are going to be much more serious than financial fraud. The disappearances. I can't confirm or deny anything specific, but you should prepare yourself. This is going to get uglier before it gets better. The call ended. Marcus watched as more boxes were carried out of the building. Whatever was on those recordings, whatever Victoria Sterling had been stupid enough to preserve it, was now in federal hands. But she was still free. She and her husband were still out there, still dangerous, still capable of reaching anyone Marcus cared about. His phone rang again. This time, a number he recognized. Marisol. Marcus, where are you? Watching the raids. FBI safe house arranged it. You need to get somewhere more secure. Right now. Why? What happened? The Sterlings just released another video. It's everywhere. And Marcus. Marisol's voice cracked. It's bad. It's really bad. 20 minutes later, Marcus was back at the safe house watching the video on the room's television. Preston Sterling, Victoria's 19-year-old son, sat in a leather chair, tears streaming down his face. A lawyer sat beside him, hand on his shoulder. I've kept quiet for too long, Preston said, his voice trembling. But after what Mr. Williams said about my family, I have to tell the truth. He paused, wiping his eyes. 2 years ago, my mother sent me to work with Mr. Williams' company as part of an internship program. She wanted me to learn about startup culture. Preston's voice broke. While I was there, Mr. Williams, Another pause. Longer, more theatrical. He touched me. Inappropriately. Multiple times. Marcus felt the world tilt sideways. I was 17. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I told my mother and she confronted him. That's why he hates our family. That's why he's been attacking us. He's trying to destroy my family before I could come forward. The video continued, but Marcus couldn't hear it anymore. Blood was roaring in his ears. His hands were shaking. They were calling him a predator, a child molester. They were using a 19-year-old boy to accuse him of the most heinous crime imaginable. And Preston Sterling had never been anywhere near Brightmind. Marcus had never met him before the gala. The entire story was a fabrication, but it didn't matter. It was on video. It was being broadcast to millions of people. And accusations like that never fully disappeared, even when proven false. Marisol's voice came through the phone. "Marcus? Are you there?" "It's a lie," he heard himself say. "I never met Preston Sterling before the gala. He never interned at Brightmind. There are no records because it never happened." "I know. We're already compiling evidence to refute. HR records, intern documentation, building security logs. But Marcus, this is going to take time. And in the meantime, the world thinks I'm a child molester. Some people will believe it, others won't. The timing is suspicious. The accusation drops right after the FBI raids. Anyone with half a brain can see it's a distraction." "Marisol, I have a 9-year-old daughter. She's going to hear about this. Her classmates are going to hear about this. Their parents are going to hear about this." Marcus's voice rose. "Do you understand what they've done? Even if I prove it's a lie, my daughter will grow up with this following her. Every time someone Googles my name, they'll see Marcus Williams and child abuse in the same headline. Marcus, they took Dorothy's life. Now they're taking mine. They're taking everything. They're trying to take everything. They haven't succeeded yet." Marisol's voice hardened. "We fight this. We prove it's a lie. We destroy their credibility so completely that no one ever believes another word they say. But you cannot give up. Not now. Not when we're this close." Marcus stared at the television where Preston Sterling was still crying his crocodile tears. "Get me the evidence," he said finally. "Every document, every log, every piece of proof that shows I never met that boy until he watched his mother pour wine on my face. I want it ready within 24 hours. You'll have it. And Marisol, find out who coached him. Find out who wrote that script. Because when this is over, I want them all to pay." The next 6 hours were the longest of Marcus's life. The accusations spread like wildfire. Social media divided into warring camps. Some people pointed out the suspicious timing, the lack of evidence, the Sterling family's desperation. Others declared Marcus guilty without waiting for investigation. Cable news ran the story around the clock. Talking heads debated whether the accusation was credible. Some dredged up every black man ever falsely accused, drawing parallels to historical injustices. Others wondered aloud if Marcus had hidden something darker beneath his inspiring story. Marcus watched none of it. He couldn't. Instead, he sat alone in the safe house, staring at his phone, waiting for the moment he'd been dreading. At 3:47 p.m. it came. His mother's number. "Marcus." Gloria's voice was thick with emotion. "Baby, I just saw the news. Please tell me it's not true." "It's not true, Mama. I swear to God it's not true." "I know, baby. I know." She was crying now. "But Zoe, the other children at Beverly's house, they were watching television and—" Marcus's heart stopped. "Zoe saw it. She's asking questions, Marcus. She doesn't understand what they're saying, but she knows it's bad. She knows people are saying bad things about her daddy. Let me talk to her." A pause, shuffling. Then Zoe's small voice. "Daddy." "Hey, baby girl." "Daddy, why are people on TV saying you hurt someone? You didn't hurt anyone, right?" The question, so innocent, so trusting, broke something inside Marcus. He pressed his hand over his eyes, fighting to keep his voice steady. "No, baby. I didn't hurt anyone. Some people are telling lies about Daddy because they're angry that I told the truth about them. Like the grape juice lady." "Yeah, like the grape juice lady. She's trying to make people think Daddy is bad because she doesn't want people to know that she's the one who's bad." Silence on the line. Marcus could hear Zoe processing this, her 9-year-old mind working through the complexity of adult cruelty. "That's not fair," she finally said. "No, baby, it's not fair. Mommy said the truth always wins. She said that lies are like shadows and truth is like the sun. She said shadows can't exist when the sun comes out. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. That's right. Mommy was very smart. So the truth will win, right, Daddy? The sun will come out. I'm working on it, baby girl. I promise you, I'm working on it. Okay. Another pause. Daddy, I love you. Even if other people say bad things. I love you too, Zoe. More than anything. More than everything. Come home soon. Okay? I will. As soon as I can. I promise. After Zoe hung up, Marcus sat motionless for a long time. Shadows can't exist when the sun comes out. Maya's words passed down through their daughter. A reminder that truth had power. That lies, no matter how elaborate, could be defeated. But sitting in that safe house, watching his reputation burn on every television screen in America, truth felt very far away. At 7:00 p.m., Agent Hawkins called with an update. The recordings from Victoria's safe room. We've completed preliminary analysis. And, Mr. Williams, I need you to prepare yourself for what I'm about to tell you. Marcus gripped the phone tighter. Tell me. Victoria Sterling recorded a conversation from 3 years ago. A conversation with her private security chief about handling Sandra Oyalaran, the former CFO who died in a car accident. Marcus stopped breathing. The recording is explicit. Victoria orders the security chief to make it look accidental. She discusses payment $2 million in cash. She even jokes about how easy it is to cut brake lines. She recorded herself ordering a murder. She recorded herself ordering multiple murders. We've identified conversations related to at least 3 of the 5 deaths you documented. Thomas Wells, Sandra Oyalaran, Michael Huang, all ordered by Victoria Sterling, all carried out by her private security team. Marcus's mind raced. The security chief. Do you have him? We're executing an arrest warrant as we speak. But Mr. Williams, there's more. More? There's a recording from 2 days ago. Victoria Sterling discussing how to handle you. Silence stretched between them. She talks about making it look like a suicide. Says it would fit the narrative disgraced businessman. False accusations exposed, couldn't face the shame. Her security chief pushes back, says you're too high profile now, too many eyes watching. Victoria disagrees. She says, and I quote, everyone forgets eventually. They forgot Thomas. They forgot Sandra. They'll forget Marcus Williams, too. Marcus felt cold, spreading through his chest. Where is Victoria now? That's why I'm calling. We've lost track of her. What do you mean, lost track? She left her residence 2 hours ago in an unmarked vehicle. Our surveillance team followed, but she went dark near the waterfront. We think she has a boat private yacht that's not registered in her name. If she reaches international waters before we can intercept, she escapes. The Coast Guard is searching, but it's a big ocean. Marcus hung up and stared at the wall. Victoria Sterling was running. She knew the recordings had been found. She knew the murders would come to light. And she was going to escape, sail away to some country without extradition, live out her days on stolen millions, while Dorothy Chen rotted in the ground. No. No, that couldn't happen. Not after everything. Not after Dorothy's death. Not after the accusations against him. Not after what they'd tried to do to his daughter. Marcus grabbed his jacket. One of the marshals intercepted him at the door. Where are you going? The waterfront. Mr. Williams, you're under our protection. We can't allow... Victoria Sterling is about to escape the country. She's the woman who killed Dorothy Chen. She's the woman who destroyed my reputation. She's the woman who was planning to murder me. Marcus met the marshal's eyes. Either you come with me or you arrest me. But I'm not sitting here while she sails away from justice. The marshal hesitated. Then he glanced at his partner. We escort you. You stay in the vehicle. If things go sideways, we leave immediately. Non-negotiable. Fine. They reached the waterfront at 8:45 p.m. Coast Guard boats dotted the harbor, searchlights sweeping the dark water. FBI vehicles lined the docks, but there was no sign of Victoria Sterling's yacht. Marcus's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered anyway. "Hello, Marcus." Victoria's voice calm and cold. "I see you've joined the search party. Where are you?" "Somewhere you'll never find me. Don't worry, I won't be bothering you anymore. By morning I'll be in international waters. By next week I'll be somewhere without extradition treaties." She laughed softly. "You won, Marcus. Congratulations. You destroyed my company. You exposed my business practices. You even turned my own recordings against me. You murdered Dorothy Chen." "I don't know what you're talking about." "You murdered 5 people, maybe more. You tried to have me killed. Allegations, accusations, nothing proven." A pause. "You know what the difference is between us, Marcus? You care about justice, about fairness, about truth. Those things are weaknesses. They make you predictable. They make you controllable. They make me human." "Exactly. And that's why you'll always lose to people like me. Because while you're busy being human, we're busy winning. You're running away in the middle of the night. That's not winning." Victoria's voice hardened. "I'm surviving. I'm adapting. I'm doing what the Sterlings have always done, outlasting our enemies. You think this is over. You think a few recordings and a federal investigation will destroy 4 generations of power. My family has faced worse and come back stronger. Not this time. We'll see." Victoria's tone shifted, becoming almost conversational. "Do you know why I poured that wine on you, Marcus? It wasn't just because you refused my offer. It was because of the way you looked at me. Like I was small. Like I was beneath you. A black man in a second-hand suit looking at Victoria Sterling like she was nothing. Maybe that's because I saw who you really were. Maybe. Or maybe you just don't know your place." A soft laugh. "Either way, it doesn't matter now. I wanted you to know something before I disappear. Your wife Maya, she was right about one thing. Truth does have power, but so do lies. And in my experience, lies usually win. Not this time. Keep telling yourself that." A pause. The sound of water lapping against a boat. "Goodbye, Marcus. Enjoy your victory. Enjoy your daughter. Enjoy your little app that gives poor children a chance to learn." The mockery in her voice made Marcus's blood boil. "Because here's the truth. You'll have to live with no matter what happens to me. I've already hurt you in ways that can never be undone. Your reputation is stained. Your daughter will grow up with whispers following her. Every success you achieve from now on will be shadowed by doubt. Did he really do it? Was he really innocent? The truth will come out. The truth always comes out, but it never erases the lie completely, does it? That's what people like you never understand. I don't need to destroy you. I just need to damage you, and I've already done that." The line went dead. Marcus stared at his phone, Victoria's words echoing in his mind. She was right about one thing: the accusations would follow him forever. Even when proven false, they would lurk in corners of the internet, in whispered conversations, in the minds of people who wanted to believe the worst. But she was wrong about something else. Lies didn't win. Not always. Not when people refuse to stop fighting. At 10:17 p.m., a Coast Guard cutter reported spotting a yacht matching Victoria's description, heading for international waters at high speed. At 10:34 p.m., the yacht changed course, suddenly angling toward a small inlet. At 10:52 p.m., FBI agents stormed the vessel and found Victoria Sterling alone in the master cabin, surrounded by documents she'd been trying to shred. She was still feeding papers into the shredder when they slapped the handcuffs on her wrists. Marcus watched the live coverage from the dock marshals flanking him. Victoria Sterling was led off the yacht in handcuffs. Her designer clothes rumpled her perfect hair. Wind swept her face, contorted with rage. For one moment, as agents guided her toward a waiting vehicle, her eyes found Marcus in the crowd. Pure hatred radiated from her gaze. 4 generations of Sterling power and privilege, reduced to a perp walk in front of cameras. Marcus didn't smile, didn't gloat. He just watched. Then he turned and walked away. At midnight, Agent Hawkins called with the final update. Victoria Sterling has been formally charged with 3 counts of murder for hire, 14 counts of wire fraud, 8 counts of tax evasion, and 6 counts of obstruction of justice. Senator Sterling was arrested 3 hours ago on related charges. Their son Preston is being questioned about the false accusation against you. His lawyer is already negotiating a cooperation agreement in exchange for testimony against his parents. So he admits he lied. He's in the process of admitting it. We expect a full recantation by morning. Marcus closed his eyes. What about Dorothy? What about justice for her? We're adding her death to the investigation. The toxicology results won't be back for weeks, but based on the pattern of behavior and the timing. If we can prove the Sterlings ordered her death, they'll face additional murder charges. If. It's the best I can offer right now, Mr. Williams. I know it doesn't feel like enough. I know Dorothy deserved better, but the Sterlings are going to prison. Multiple life sentences most likely. They'll never hurt anyone again. That's something. It's everything. Trust me. Hawkins paused. You should get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be intense. Press conferences, statements. The world is going to want to hear from you. I know. Mr. Williams. Marcus. What you did took extraordinary courage. A lot of people would have taken the money and walked away. A lot of people would have backed down when the threats started. You didn't. Dorothy Chen chose the right person to trust. I just kept a promise. Sometimes that's all it takes. After the call ended, Marcus sat alone in the safe house. The television was off. His phone was silent. The city hummed outside, unaware of everything that had happened. He pulled out his wallet and removed a worn photograph. Maya on their wedding day laughing at something he'd said. Her eyes were bright with joy. Her smile could light up continents. I did it, baby, he whispered. They're going to prison. The truth came out. The photograph didn't answer, but Marcus could almost hear Maya's voice. I knew you would. I never doubted you for a second. He pressed the photo to his chest, and finally, after days without sleep, allowed himself to close his eyes. Tomorrow, the sun would rise. The shadows would fade, and Marcus Williams would still be standing. The sun rose at 6:47 a.m., and Marcus was already awake. He hadn't slept more than 3 hours, but his body refused to rest any longer. Too much adrenaline. Too many thoughts racing through his mind. Too much unfinished business. His phone showed 47 missed calls, hundreds of text messages, thousands of emails. The world wanted a piece of Marcus Williams, and it wasn't willing to wait. He ignored all of it and called the only number that mattered. Daddy! Zoe's voice was sunshine after a week of storms. Grandma said the bad lady got arrested. Is it true? It's true, baby girl. So no more lies, no more people saying bad things about you. Marcus felt his throat tighten. There might still be some people who say bad things, but the truth is coming out. The sun is coming out just like Mommy said. I knew it. Zoe's excitement was pure and uncomplicated. I told Grandma. I said Daddy's gonna win because Daddy always tells the truth. Put Grandma on the phone, baby. I need to talk to her for a minute. Shuffling sounds. Then Gloria's voice, heavy with exhaustion and relief. Marcus, thank God. We watched the news all night. That woman being led away in handcuffs. Gloria's voice cracked. I prayed for this. I prayed so hard. It's not over yet, Mama. There's still the trial, still the media, still a lot of mess to clean up. But she's in jail. She can't hurt you anymore. No, she can't. Gloria was quiet for a moment. Then, your father would be so proud of you, baby. He always said the measure of a man isn't how he acts when things are easy. It's how he acts when everything's trying to break him. I almost broke Mama. More than once. Almost doesn't count. You're still standing. That's what matters. Marcus closed his eyes, letting his mother's words wash over him. I'm coming home today. As soon as I finish with the FBI and the press, I'm coming home to you and Zoe. We'll be waiting. I'm making your favorite, pot roast with mashed potatoes. And Zoe wants to make you a cake. Tell her I can't wait to see it. I love you, Marcus. I love you too, Mama. After hanging up, Marcus finally looked at his messages. Most were from journalists requesting interviews. Some were from business contacts expressing support. A few were from strangers sending encouragement. But one message stood out. From Agent Hawkins, sent at 4:23 a.m. Preston Sterling's recantation is scheduled for 9 a.m. National press conference. His lawyers negotiated full immunity in exchange for testimony against his parents. He's going to admit everything, the false accusation who coached him the whole scheme. You should be there. Marcus checked the time. 7:15 a.m. Less than 2 hours. He showered with water as hot as he could stand, trying to scrub away the exhaustion and stress that had accumulated over the past week. When he looked in the mirror, he barely recognized himself. Dark circles under his eyes, stubble on his cheeks, a haunted look that hadn't been there before. But somewhere behind the exhaustion, there was something else. Something that looked like peace. At 8:30 a.m., the marshals escorted him to the federal courthouse, where Preston Sterling's press conference would take place. The building was surrounded by media, hundreds of cameras, thousands of onlookers, a circus of attention that Marcus had never wanted but could no longer avoid. Marisol met him at a side entrance. She looked almost as tired as he did, but her eyes were bright with triumph. "We did it," she said, grabbing his arm. "Marcus, we actually did it. It's not over yet." The hell it isn't. Victoria Sterling is facing multiple life sentences. Her husband is looking at 20 years minimum. Their company is finished. Stock is worthless assets, frozen board members fleeing like rats from a sinking ship. Marisol shook her head in disbelief. 3 days ago they were one of the most powerful families in America. Now they're finished. And you did that. Dorothy did it. She spent 32 years collecting evidence. Dorothy gave you the weapon. You pulled the trigger. Marisol squeezed his arm. Take the credit, Marcus. You earned it. They made their way to a private viewing room where Marcus could watch the press conference without being mobbed by reporters. Agent Hawkins was already there along with several other FBI officials. "Mr. Williams." Hawkins nodded at him. "How are you holding up?" "I've been better. I've been worse." "Fair enough." She gestured toward the monitor. "It's about to start." Preston Sterling's lawyers spent all night preparing his statement. It's comprehensive. What's he getting in exchange for this? Full immunity from prosecution. He was technically a minor when his mother started involving him in her schemes, and he was clearly coerced into making the false accusation. In exchange, he's providing testimony that will help convict both his parents and several of their associates. So he walks free. He's 19 years old, Mr. Williams. He's been raised by monsters. I'm not saying what he did was right, but... Hawkins shrugged. He's cooperating fully. Sometimes that's the best we can do. Marcus nodded. He didn't like it, but he understood. The real criminals were Victoria and Richard Sterling. Preston was a weapon they'd wielded, not the source of the corruption. The monitor flickered to life. A podium appeared surrounded by microphones and cameras. A moment later, Preston Sterling walked out flanked by lawyers. The young man looked nothing like he had in his accusation video. No tears, no trembling voice. Just a pale, hollow-eyed teenager who looked like he hadn't slept in days. He approached the podium and gripped it with both hands, steadying himself. "My name is Preston Sterling." He began, his voice flat and mechanical. 3 days ago, I appeared in a video accusing Marcus Williams of inappropriate conduct toward me. That accusation was false, completely false. I fabricated the entire story at my mother's direction. Gasps from the assembled press, cameras flashing. I have never met Marcus Williams before the night of the Sterling Foundation Gala. I never interned at his company. The events I described never happened. Every word I said was a lie scripted by my mother and her legal team. Preston paused, swallowing hard. My mother told me that Marcus Williams was trying to destroy our family. She said if I didn't help stop him, we would lose everything. She said... His voice cracked. She said this is what Sterlings do. We protect our own. We do whatever it takes. He looked directly at the cameras. I am deeply sorry for the pain I have caused Mr. Williams and his family. I am sorry for the damage to his reputation. I am sorry for the trauma I have inflicted on his daughter, who had to hear her father accused of terrible things he never did. Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, maybe not ever, but something like acknowledgement. The boy was owning his mistake. That counted for something. I am also prepared to testify about other crimes committed by my parents. Preston continued. Crimes I witnessed. Crimes I was taught to consider normal because that's how I was raised. I now understand that what my family did was evil, and I am committed to helping bring them to justice. He stepped back from the podium, and his lawyers took over answering questions from the press. But Marcus had stopped listening. It was over. The false accusation was publicly retracted. His name was cleared. The truth had finally completely undeniably come out. Hawkins touched his shoulder. How do you feel? I don't know, Marcus admitted. I thought I'd feel vindicated, triumphant, but I just feel tired. That's normal. The adrenaline crashes hard when it's over. Hawkins handed him a card. Victim Services can connect you with counseling if you need it. What you've been through, the threats, the accusations, the fear that leaves marks. Don't be too proud to get help. I'll think about it. Do more than think about it. Hawkins' voice softened. You have a daughter who needs her father healthy and whole. Take care of yourself, Marcus. You've earned the right to heal. An hour later, Marcus held his own press conference. The room was packed. Every major network, every major newspaper, journalists from around the world who wanted to hear from the man who had brought down the Sterling dynasty. He stood behind the podium, looking out at the sea of faces and cameras. For a moment, the magnitude of it all threatened to overwhelm him. Then he thought of Maya, of Zoe, of Dorothy Chen, and he began to speak. 1 week ago, I stood on a stage in a ballroom, wine dripping down my face, while some of the wealthiest people in America laughed at my humiliation. In that moment, I had a choice. I could accept it. I could stay quiet. I could take the money and walk away. He paused, letting the silence build. I refused. Not because I'm brave, not because I'm special, but because I made a promise to my dying wife that I would never let people like the Sterlings turn her dream into a tool for their greed. And because an elderly woman named Dorothy Chen had spent 32 years waiting for someone to finally stand up. His voice thickened with emotion. Dorothy Chen was murdered 4 days ago. Killed because she dared to tell the truth about the people she had worked for. She was 71 years old. She had a daughter named Keisha, who died at 26 after Victoria Sterling destroyed her life with false accusations. Marcus gripped the podium, steadying himself. Dorothy spent decades collecting evidence. She risked everything to preserve the truth. And she trusted me to finish what she started. I am standing here today because of her courage, her sacrifice, her refusal to let evil go unchallenged. He looked directly into the cameras. This is not a victory celebration. 5 people are dead because they challenged the Sterling family. Countless others had their careers destroyed, their lives ruined, their futures stolen. The Sterlings operated with impunity for 4 generations because they believed their money made them untouchable. Marcus straightened his spine. They were wrong. Justice delayed is not justice denied. The truth may take years, decades to emerge, but it emerges. Dorothy Chen knew that. She bet her life on it, and she was right. He paused, emotion threatening to crack his composure. To my daughter Zoe, who is watching this at home with her grandmother baby girl, I love you. Everything I did for you. I did it so you could grow up in a world where telling the truth matters, where doing the right thing matters, where the powerful cannot crush the powerless without consequence. Marcus felt tears burning in his eyes, but refused to let them fall. To Dorothy Chen, wherever you are, thank you. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for Keisha. I will spend the rest of my life making sure your sacrifice was not in vain. He stepped back from the podium. I have no further statements. Thank you. The questions erupted, hundreds of voices shouting over each other, but Marcus was already walking away. Marisol fell into step beside him, shielding him from the press as they made their way to a waiting car. That was perfect, she said quietly. Exactly what people needed to hear. It wasn't a performance. I know, that's why it was perfect. The car pulled away from the courthouse, leaving the chaos behind. Marcus leaned back against the seat and closed his eyes. What happens now? He asked. Now. Now you go home to your family. You rest. You heal. Marisol checked her phone. The offers are already flooding in. Speaking engagements, book deals, television interviews. Everyone wants a piece of the man who brought down the Sterlings. I don't want any of that. I know you don't. But Marcus. Marisol turned to face him. You have an opportunity here. A platform. People are listening to you in a way they weren't before. You could use that to make real change. What kind of change? Whistleblower protection. Corporate accountability. Whatever you want. Dorothy Chen spent 32 years afraid to come forward because she knew no one would believe her. What if we created a system where people like her had support, resources, protection? Marcus opened his eyes. A foundation. Exactly. The Dorothy Chen Foundation for Whistleblower Protection. We fund legal support for employees who expose corporate crimes. We create safe channels for reporting. We make sure no one else has to wait 3 decades for justice. For the first time in days, something like hope flickered in Marcus's chest. Dorothy would have liked that. Dorothy would have loved that. Marisol smiled. Think about it. No pressure. But when you're ready to talk about next steps, I'm here. The car pulled up to his mother's apartment building. Marcus could see Zoe pressed against the window, waving frantically. I'll call you tomorrow, he told Marisol. Take your time. You've earned it. Marcus climbed out of the car and had barely taken 3 steps before the front door burst open. Zoe came flying down the stairs, launching herself into his arms. Daddy, Daddy, I watched your speech. You were so brave. Marcus held her tight, breathing in the smell of her shampoo, feeling her small arms wrapped around his neck. This was what mattered. This was what he had fought for. I missed you so much, baby girl. I missed you too, Daddy. Grandma cried during your speech. She said Mommy was watching from heaven and she was crying too. Maybe she was. Zoe pulled back her small hands, cupping his face. Daddy, you look tired. I am tired, baby. Then you should sleep. Grandma says sleep is the best medicine. Marcus laughed, really laughed for the first time in what felt like forever. Grandma is very smart. I know. She says I get my smart from her. Zoe grabbed his hand, pulling him toward the door. Come on. I made you a cake. It's chocolate with chocolate frosting, because chocolate is the best. I couldn't agree more. Inside, Gloria was waiting. She took one look at Marcus and burst into tears, pulling him into a hug that seemed to last forever. My baby, she whispered. My brave, beautiful baby. I'm okay, Mama. I'm home. I know. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. Lord, look at me crying like a fool. Come in. Sit down. Zoe's been decorating that cake for 2 hours. The cake was lopsided and covered in approximately 3 inches of chocolate frosting. Daddy Number 1 was written in wobbly letters across the top. It was the most beautiful thing Marcus had ever seen. "Do you like it?" Zoe asked anxiously. "I love it. It's perfect." They sat together at the small kitchen table, eating chocolate cake for lunch, because Marcus declared that he had earned the right to make bad dietary choices. Zoe chattered endlessly about everything and nothing, her cousins at Aunt Beverly's, the shows she'd watched, the dreams she'd had. Marcus listened to every word, savoring the normalcy of it. The simple joy of being with his family. The peace he had fought so hard to protect. After lunch, Zoe demanded that Marcus watch her favorite movie with her. He settled onto the couch, his daughter tucked under his arm, and tried to focus on the animated characters on screen. He was asleep within 10 minutes. When he woke, the room was dark and Zoe was gone. A blanket had been draped over him. His mother sat in the armchair across the room reading by lamplight. "What time is it?" Marcus asked groggily. "Almost 8 p.m. You slept for 6 hours. 6 hours. He sat up, rubbing his eyes. "Why didn't you wake me?" "Because you needed rest more than you needed anything else." Gloria set down her book. "Zoe's already in bed. She wanted to stay up and wait for you, but I told her you'd still be here in the morning." "I will be. I'm not going anywhere." Gloria studied him for a long moment. "How are you really doing, baby? Not the version you showed the cameras. The real version." Marcus considered lying. Considered putting on a brave face and assuring her he was fine. But this was his mother. She had raised him. She had seen him through every triumph and failure of his life. She deserved the truth. "I'm scared, Mama. I know the Sterlings are in jail. I know the truth came out. But I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. I keep expecting something else to go wrong." Gloria nodded. "That's trauma, baby. Your body learned to expect danger. It's going to take time to unlearn that." "I also feel..." Marcus struggled to find the words. "Guilty. Dorothy Chen is dead because of me. If I had just taken Victoria's money, just walked away, then those murderers would still be free. More people would have died. And you would have broken the promise you made to Maya. But Dorothy made her choice." Gloria's voice was firm. "She chose to trust you. She chose to give you that evidence. She knew the risks better than anyone, and she decided the truth was worth dying for. Don't dishonor her by second-guessing her decision." Marcus felt tears burning in his eyes again. "I miss Maya so much, Mama. I keep thinking about what she would say, how she would help me process all this." "I know, baby. I know." Gloria crossed to the couch and sat beside him, pulling him into her arms like she had when he was a child. "But you know what I think? Maya is proud of you. I think she's looking down right now, watching over you and Zoe, and she's saying, 'That's my husband. That's the man I chose.'" Marcus finally let the tears fall. "I'm so tired, Mama. I'm so tired of being strong." "Then don't be strong. Not tonight. Tonight you're just my baby boy who needs his mama." Gloria held him tighter. "I've got you, Marcus. I've always got you." They sat together in the darkness, mother and son, while the city hummed outside and the weight of the past week slowly began to lift. The next morning, Marcus woke to sunlight streaming through the windows and the smell of bacon frying. He followed his nose to the kitchen, where Zoe was standing on a step stool, carefully flipping pancakes under Gloria's supervision. "Daddy, you're awake. We're making breakfast." "I can see that." Marcus kissed the top of her head. "What can I do to help?" "You can sit down and let us take care of you for once," Gloria said firmly. "Coffee's on the table." Marcus obeyed, settling into his chair with a mug of coffee and watching his daughter and mother move around the kitchen in perfect coordination. This was what he had almost lost. This simple domestic scene that meant more than any business deal or public victory. After breakfast, Marcus retrieved his phone for the first time since arriving. The notifications were overwhelming, thousands of messages, emails, and alerts. but one caught his attention immediately, from Agent Hawkins. "Call me when you can. We found something in Victoria Sterling's recordings you need to hear." Marcus excused himself to the living room and dialed Hawkins's number. "Mr. Williams, thank you for calling back. Your message sounded urgent." "It is. We've been going through Victoria Sterling's recordings. There are thousands of hours of audio, and we found something from 3 years ago." Hawkins paused. "A conversation between Victoria and a doctor about your wife." Marcus felt ice form in his stomach. "What about Maya?" "Mr. Williams, I need you to prepare yourself for what I'm about to tell you. Just tell me." Hawkins took a deep breath. "The recording suggests that Victoria Sterling had knowledge of your wife's cancer diagnosis before it was detected by her regular doctors. Months before." "That doesn't make sense. Maya's cancer was caught late, stage 4. If someone had known earlier..." "Exactly. The recording suggests that Victoria Sterling deliberately suppressed information about your wife's condition. Maya worked for a company that did business with Sterling Tech. Her health records were accessible through certain channels. Victoria apparently discovered the early cancer markers during a routine background check and chose not to share that information." Marcus couldn't breathe. Why would she do that?" "Because your wife was working on technology that competed with Sterling Tech's education division. Victoria saw her as a threat." Hawkins' voice was heavy. "Mr. Williams, I'm not saying Victoria Sterling caused your wife's death, but the evidence suggests she may have allowed it to happen when it could have been prevented." The phone slipped from Marcus's fingers. Maya. His Maya. Dead not because cancer was cruel and random, but because Victoria Sterling had decided that her technology was more important than a woman's life. His wife could have been saved. His daughter could have grown up with her mother. Everything he had lost, the love, the partnership, the dreams they had shared, all of it had been taken by a woman who poured wine on people for sport. Marcus picked up the phone. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold it. Is this something we can prosecute?" "The legal team is reviewing. The recording is clear, but proving causation in a case like this is complicated. At minimum, it's additional evidence of her pattern of callous disregard for human life." Hawkins paused. "I wanted you to know before it became public. This is going to come out during the trial." "I appreciate that." "Mr. Williams, Marcus, I'm sorry. I know this doesn't change what happened, but you deserve to know the truth. All of it." Marcus ended the call and sat motionless, staring at nothing. Maya could have been saved. 5 words that rewrote everything he thought he knew about his wife's death. 5 words that transformed grief into something darker, heavier, more jagged. Gloria appeared in the doorway. "Marcus, baby, what's wrong?" He looked at his mother. The woman who had raised him. The woman who had helped him survive losing Maya. The woman who had held him last night while he wept. "Victoria Sterling may have killed Maya," he said flatly. "She knew about the cancer and didn't tell anyone. She let her die." Gloria's face went white. "What?" "The FBI found a recording. Victoria knew Maya had cancer markers months before the diagnosis. She suppressed the information because Maya's work threatened her business." For a long moment, Gloria said nothing. Then slowly she crossed the room and took Marcus's hands in hers. "Listen to me, baby. I know this hurts. I know it feels like the ground just opened up beneath you. But you cannot let this destroy you. You cannot let Victoria Sterling take anything else from this family. How am I supposed to—" "You use it." Gloria's voice was fierce. "You take this pain and you turn it into fuel. You make sure that when Victoria Sterling goes to trial, the whole world knows what she did to Maya. You make sure she pays for every single life she destroyed." Marcus looked at his mother, this small, fierce woman who had survived so much and never stopped fighting. "How do you do it, Mama? How do you keep going when the world just keeps hitting you?" Gloria squeezed his hands. "Because the alternative is letting them win." And I will be damned if I let anyone say that Gloria Williams raised a son who gave up. From the kitchen, Zoe's voice called out, "Daddy, Grandma, are you coming back? The pancakes are getting cold." Marcus looked toward the kitchen, toward his daughter, toward the future he was still building. "I'll be right there, baby girl." He turned back to his mother. "I'm going to destroy her mama, everything she is, everything her family ever built. I'm going to make sure the Sterling name becomes a synonym for evil." Gloria nodded slowly. "That's my boy. And then I'm going to build something in Maya's memory. Something that makes sure no one ever suffers the way she did, the way Dorothy did, the way all of Victoria's victims did. The Dorothy Chen Foundation. That's just the start. I want a Maya Williams Medical Justice Initiative. I want to expose every corporation that puts profits over people's lives. I want to make sure that what happened to my wife never happens to anyone else." Gloria smiled through tears. "Now that sounds like a plan." Marcus hugged his mother tightly. "Thank you, Mama, for everything. Always, baby, always." They walked back to the kitchen together, where Zoe was waiting with a plate of slightly cold pancakes and a smile that could melt glaciers. "Finally, I was worried you forgot about me." "Never, baby girl." Marcus sat down and pulled Zoe onto his lap. "I could never forget about you." "Good. Because I need you, Daddy. You're my favorite person in the whole world." Marcus held his daughter close, feeling her warmth, her trust, her unconditional love. Victoria Sterling had taken so much from him. His wife, his peace, his sense of safety. She had tried to take his reputation, his freedom, his life. But she hadn't taken this. She hadn't taken his daughter's love. She hadn't taken his mother's strength. She hadn't taken his ability to fight back. And now, armed with the truth about Maya's death, Marcus had one more weapon in his arsenal. The reckoning wasn't over. It was just beginning. 6 months later, Marcus stood outside the federal courthouse, watching the autumn leaves drift across the plaza. The trial had lasted 11 weeks. 73 witnesses. Over 4,000 pieces of evidence. Every day he had sat in the gallery watching as the full scope of Sterling family crimes was laid bare before the world. Today was the day of the verdict. Marisol appeared at his side. "How are you feeling?" "Ask me in an hour." "Fair enough." She checked her phone. "Jury's been out for 3 days. That's usually a good sign for the prosecution. Or it means they're deadlocked." "Don't think like that. The evidence was overwhelming. The recordings alone?" "I know." Marcus cut her off, not harshly, but firmly. "I just need to hear them say it. I need to hear the word guilty come out of someone's mouth." They entered the courthouse together, passing through security, making their way to the courtroom, where the Sterling family's fate would be decided. The gallery was packed: journalists, victims, curious onlookers, former Sterling employees who had come to witness the end. Marcus took his seat in the front row. Dorothy Chen's sister sat beside him, a woman named Margaret, who had flown in from California the moment she heard about the trial. She had Dorothy's eyes sharp and observant, and Dorothy's quiet strength. "Thank you for being here," Margaret whispered. "Dorothy would have wanted someone from our family to see this through." "Dorothy is here," Marcus replied. "Everything happening in this courtroom is because of her." The bailiff called for order. The judge entered. The jury filed in 12 faces, carefully neutral, giving nothing away. Victoria Sterling sat at the defense table, her designer suit replaced by prison orange. 6 months of incarceration had aged her. Her hair was grayer. Her face lined her posture, no longer radiating the imperious confidence that had defined her. Richard Sterling sat beside her, equally diminished, a shadow of the powerful senator he had once been. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" the judge asked. The foreperson stood. "We have, Your Honor." Marcus felt his heart stop. "On the charge of murder in the first degree in the death of Sandra Oyaleren, how do you find guilty?" The word hit the courtroom like a thunderclap. Gasps erupted. Someone sobbed. Victoria Sterling's face went white. On the charge of murder in the first degree in the death of Thomas Wells, how do you find guilty? On the charge of murder in the first degree in the death of Michael Huang, how do you find guilty? The foreperson continued reading. Guilty on all murder charges. Guilty on wire fraud. Guilty on tax evasion. Guilty on obstruction of justice. Guilty on witness tampering. Guilty on racketeering. 47 charges. 47 guilty verdicts. When it was over, Victoria Sterling collapsed forward, her head striking the defense table. Richard Sterling sat motionless, staring at nothing, as if his mind had simply shut down. Marcus didn't move. He sat perfectly still, letting the verdicts wash over him. Guilty. After everything, the threats, the false accusations, the attempts on his life, the murder of Dorothy Chen, justice had finally been served. Margaret grabbed his hand, tears streaming down her face. They did it. They actually did it. Dorothy did it, Marcus said quietly. She made this happen. The judge scheduled sentencing for the following month. As the Sterlings were led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, Victoria's eyes found Marcus in the gallery. The hatred was still there. 6 months of prison hadn't diminished it, but now it was mixed with something else. Defeat. The recognition that she had finally met an enemy she couldn't buy, intimidate, or destroy. Marcus held her gaze until she was gone. Outside the courthouse, the media was waiting. Hundreds of cameras, thousands of questions, a chaos of attention that Marcus had learned to navigate over the past 6 months. He stepped up to the microphones. Today, justice was served. Not just for me, but for Sandra Oya Lauren, Thomas Wells, Michael Huang, Dorothy Chen, and every person the Sterling family ever hurt. He paused, letting the words settle. I want to be clear about something. This verdict doesn't bring anyone back. It doesn't undo the pain. It doesn't heal the wounds, but it sends a message. He looked directly into the cameras. If you abuse your power, if you destroy lives for profit, if you believe your money makes you untouchable, you are wrong. Justice may be slow, but it is relentless. And there are people who will never stop fighting until it arrives. Questions erupted, but Marcus stepped back from the podium. He had said what needed to be said. The rest was noise. Marisol guided him to a waiting car, shielding him from the press. As they pulled away from the courthouse, she handed him her phone. Zoe called while you were inside. She says she watched the verdict on TV at school. Marcus smiled and dialed his daughter's number. Daddy? Zoe's voice was electric with excitement. I saw the bad lady is going to prison forever. That's right, baby girl. She's going to prison for a very long time. My teacher cried. She said it was a good cry, though, a happy cry. Sometimes those are the best kind. Daddy, can we have pizza tonight to celebrate? Marcus laughed. We can have whatever you want, baby. This is your victory, too. It is. Of course. You're the one who reminded me that Mommy said the truth is like the sun. You're the one who kept me going when I wanted to give up. His voice thickened. Everything I did for you, Zoe, so you could grow up in a world that's a little bit better, a little bit fairer. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby girl, more than anything in the whole world. 1 month later, Victoria Sterling was sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. Richard Sterling received 42 years. Their assets were seized, their properties auctioned, their company dissolved. The Sterling dynasty, which had dominated American business and politics for 4 generations, was finished. But Marcus wasn't thinking about the Sterlings anymore. He was thinking about the future. The Dorothy Chen Foundation for Whistleblower Protection officially launched on what would have been Dorothy's 72nd birthday. The ceremony was held in a renovated building downtown, purchased with funds from Marcus's settlement against Sterling Tech that would serve as the foundation's headquarters. Margaret Chen cut the ribbon while Marcus stood beside her. The building's lobby featured a massive portrait of Dorothy commissioned by Marcus from a renowned artist. In the portrait, Dorothy wasn't smiling. She was looking directly at the viewer, with those sharp, observant eyes, as if challenging them to find the courage she had shown. "This building will be a sanctuary," Marcus announced to the gathered crowd. "Anyone who witnesses corporate wrongdoing, anyone who needs legal support to speak the truth, anyone who is afraid to come forward because they fear retaliation, they will find help here." Dorothy Chen waited 32 years for justice because she had no one to turn to. We're making sure that never happens again. The Foundation's first year exceeded every expectation. 47 whistleblowers came forward with evidence of corporate crimes. 23 investigations were launched. 11 companies faced federal sanctions. 3 CEOs resigned in disgrace, and that was just the beginning. The Maya Williams Medical Justice Initiative launched 6 months later, funded by a combination of Marcus's personal wealth and donations from across the country. The initiative's mission was simple, but powerful. Investigate cases where corporations had suppressed medical information that could have saved lives. Within its first year, the initiative uncovered 17 instances of deliberate suppression, pharmaceutical companies hiding side effects, insurance providers denying critical treatments, employers concealing workplace hazards. 12 lawsuits were filed. 8 were settled for amounts totaling over $200 million. More importantly, the initiative forced legislative change. The Maya Williams Medical Transparency Act, passed by Congress with bipartisan support, required corporations to disclose any health information discovered about employees or customers within 72 hours. Violation carried criminal penalties, including prison time. Marcus didn't do any of this alone. He assembled a team of lawyers, investigators, and advocates who shared his vision. He partnered with civil rights organizations, medical groups, and whistleblower networks. He built alliances that would have seemed impossible just 2 years earlier. And through it all, he never forgot why he had started. 1 year to the day after Victoria Sterling poured wine on his head, Marcus received an invitation. The envelope was cream-colored, the lettering embossed in gold. He recognized the logo immediately, the Sterling Foundation. Or rather, what had been the Sterling Foundation before it was seized by the government and reorganized under new leadership. The invitation read, "The newly renamed Unity Foundation cordially invites you to its inaugural gala. This year's theme, Courage in the Face of Injustice. Marcus Williams will receive the Unity Award for his extraordinary contributions to corporate accountability and social justice." Marcus stared at the invitation for a long time. Same ballroom, same chandeliers, same marble floors where wine had dripped from his face, while the elite laughed. His first instinct was to refuse, to stay far away from that place and its memories, to protect himself from the ghosts that still haunted his dreams. But then, he thought about Dorothy, about Maya, about every person who had ever been humiliated by the powerful and told to stay silent. He called Marisol. "I'm going to accept." "Are you sure, after everything that happened there?" "That's exactly why I'm accepting. They tried to destroy me in that room. Now I'm going to show everyone that they failed. It'll be intense. Every camera in the country will be watching." "Good. Let them watch." The night of the gala, Marcus stood in front of his bathroom mirror adjusting his tie. It was the same tie Zoe had picked out for him. A year ago he had kept it despite the wine stains as a reminder of what he had survived. "Daddy, you look like a superhero again," Zoe said from the doorway. "You think so? Even more than last time, because now you're a real superhero. You saved people. You stopped bad guys." Marcus crouched down to her level. "Baby girl, I'm just a man who wouldn't quit. That's not the same as being a superhero." "Yes, it is." Zoe's voice was certain. "Mommy said superheroes aren't people with powers. They're people who do hard things even when they're scared. That's you, Daddy." Marcus pulled her into a hug, holding her tight. "You know what? You're the smartest person I know." "I know. Grandma says I get it from her." Marcus laughed and stood up. "Is Grandma ready?" "She's been ready for an hour. She says she's not missing this for the world. They arrived at the Sterling Grand Hotel, now simply called the Grand Hotel, the Sterling name scrubbed from every surface at exactly 7 p.m. The entrance was lined with photographers, but they weren't hunting for scandal this time. They were documenting triumph. Marcus stepped out of the car, Zoe holding his left hand, Gloria holding his right. Together they walked toward the entrance, camera flashes exploding around them. At the door, Marcus paused. 1 year ago, he had walked through these same doors in a second-hand suit, nervous and uncertain, painfully aware that he didn't belong. Now he walked through in a custom-tailored tuxedo, flanked by his family, knowing that everyone in that ballroom was waiting for him. The lobby was different. The Sterling portraits were gone, replaced by photographs of the Foundation's work whistleblowers who had found protection victims, who had found justice communities that had been transformed. At the center of the lobby stood a new installation, a glass case containing a wine-stained peach gown. A placard beside it read, "The dress worn by Dorothy Chen on the night she began documenting Sterling family crimes, preserved as a reminder that justice often begins with a single act of courage." Marcus stopped in front of the display, his throat tight. "She'd be so proud," Gloria whispered. "I hope so." The ballroom doors opened, and Marcus walked in. 1 year ago, he had walked this same path toward table 14, hidden in the back, deliberately marginalized. Now he walked toward the head table at the center of the room, where a seat of honor waited. The crowd rose as he entered. A standing ovation that began before he reached his seat and continued for nearly 3 minutes. These were not the same people who had laughed at his humiliation. Most of them had fled the Sterling orbit long ago. But they understood the significance of this moment. Marcus helped his mother and daughter to their seats, then stood at the podium. "Thank you. Please sit down." The applause gradually faded. 1 year ago, I stood on a stage in this very room, wine dripping down my face while some of you watched and others laughed. I was humiliated. I was furious. I was terrified. He paused, letting the silence build. But I was also determined, because I had made a promise to my dying wife, a promise that I would never let people like the Sterlings use their power to crush the powerless. A promise that I would fight for every child who deserved a chance to learn, every worker who deserved to be treated with dignity, every voice that deserved to be heard. Marcus looked out at the sea of faces. That promise didn't make me special. It didn't make me brave. It made me stubborn. Too stubborn to quit. Too stubborn to accept defeat. Too stubborn to let Victoria Sterling's wine become the final chapter of my story. Light laughter rippled through the crowd. But I didn't succeed alone. I succeeded because Dorothy Chen spent 32 years documenting the truth. I succeeded because my mother refused to let me give up. I succeeded because my daughter reminded me what I was fighting for. I succeeded because strangers across this country believed in justice, even when it seemed impossible. He gripped the podium. Tonight, Victoria and Richard Sterling are in federal prison, where they will spend the rest of their lives. Their company is gone. Their fortune is seized. Their legacy is ashes. Marcus's voice hardened. But I'm not here to celebrate their destruction. I'm here to celebrate what we're building in its place. The Dorothy Chen Foundation has already protected dozens of whistleblowers. The Maya Williams Medical Justice Initiative has exposed 17 cases of corporate medical concealment. New laws are being passed. New safeguards are being established. New voices are being heard. He looked at his daughter sitting in the front row with wide eyes. That's what victory looks like. Not revenge, not destruction, but building something better, something lasting, something that will protect people long after we're gone. Marcus stepped back from the podium. I accept this award tonight not for myself, but for Dorothy Chen, who gave her life for the truth, for Maya Williams, who gave me the strength to keep fighting, for every person who has ever been told that they don't matter, that they don't belong, that they can't win against power and money and generations of privilege. His voice rose. You matter, you belong, and you can win. I am living proof. The ballroom erupted in applause. Marcus made his way back to his seat, where Zoe threw her arms around him. That was amazing, Daddy. You didn't even look scared. I was scared, baby. I'm always a little scared, but I do it anyway. That's what makes you brave. That's what you make me. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of congratulations, photographs, and conversations. Marcus shook hundreds of hands, accepted dozens of business cards, heard countless stories from people who had been inspired by his fight. But the moment that mattered most came near the end of the night. As the gala was winding down, Marcus took Zoe's hand and led her to the stage where he had once been humiliated. They stood together looking out at the empty ballroom, the tables being cleared, the staff preparing to close. "This is where it happened," Marcus said quietly. "This is where the grape juice lady poured wine on me." Zoe looked around with wide eyes. "It doesn't look scary anymore." "It's not, because we changed what it means." Marcus crouched down to her level. A year ago, this place represented everything bad about the world. Rich people laughing at poor people, powerful people crushing powerless people. Now it represents something different. It represents fighting back. It represents winning. "It represents the sun coming out," Zoe said. Marcus felt tears pricking his eyes. "Yeah, baby girl, it represents the sun coming out." They stood there together for a long moment, father and daughter, surrounded by the ghosts of the past and the promise of the future. Gloria appeared at the edge of the stage. "The car is waiting, baby. Time to go home." Marcus nodded and scooped Zoe up into his arms. She was getting too big to carry, but he did it anyway, feeling her weight, her warmth, her absolute trust. They walked out of the ballroom together past the display case with Dorothy's dress through the lobby, where sterling portraits no longer hung out into the cool night air, where stars sparkled overhead. The city stretched before them, alive with lights and movement and possibility. "Daddy," Zoe said sleepily, her head resting on his shoulder. "Yeah, baby." "Are we done fighting now?" Marcus thought about the question, about Dorothy Chen, about Maya, about the foundation and the initiative and all the work that still remained. "We're done fighting the Sterlings," he said. "But there are other people who need help. Other bad guys who need to be stopped. Other truth that needs to come out. So we keep going. We keep going." Zoe yawned. "Okay, but can we have pancakes for breakfast first?" Marcus laughed, holding his daughter closer. "We can have whatever you want, baby girl. We've earned it." They climbed into the waiting car, Gloria settling in beside them. As the vehicle pulled away from the hotel, Marcus looked back one last time at the building where his life had changed forever. 1 year ago, he had walked into that building with nothing but a second-hand suit and a dream. Tonight, he walked out with just his legacy and the knowledge that the most powerful families in America could be brought down by a single man who refused to break. The car drove through the city streets past buildings that bore the marks of sterling influence, past communities that had been transformed by the Foundation's work, past a future that was brighter than anyone could have imagined a year ago. Marcus closed his eyes, Zoe sleeping against his chest, Gloria's hand resting on his arm. Maya's voice echoed in his memory. "Don't let them intimidate you. They're just people. Scared people who need power to feel whole." She had been right. She had always been right. And now, finally, the world knew it too. The car carried them home through the quiet streets, the city lights reflecting off windows like scattered stars. Somewhere out there, more battles waited. More injustices needed to be exposed. More voices needed to be heard. But tonight, Marcus Williams was at peace. He had kept his promise to Maya. He had honored Dorothy Chen's sacrifice. He had built something that would outlast any empire, any fortune, any dynasty. He had proven that truth was stronger than lies, that courage was stronger than fear, and that love, the love of a wife for her husband, a father for his daughter, a son for his mother, was stronger than anything the powerful could throw against it. Victoria Sterling had poured wine on his head to show the world that he was nothing. Instead, she had shown the world exactly who he was, and that made all the difference.